presence of our dear principal sir, I would like to put before you all the background, the aim and objectives of this conference in my introductory speech. Uh, I would like to present before you the vision with which we conceived this concept of the conference, and we chose such a kind of theme. Friends, marginality is a social and cultural fact which is very much dependent on the question of identity. Due to several social factors, one's identity gets characterized to something as low and mean, and thus his marginal status becomes a social reality. Culture also plays a vital part in imparting marginality to a person or community. History is witness to the fact that no two cultures have lived side by side amicably or without any disturbances. It has often been seen that the men of dominant culture use their language and literature to create such a hierarchical system where all the social and religious privileges are made exclusive possessions of themselves only, and to perpetuate this system of dominion, they impose cultural, social, or religious marginality on the masses who are less sophisticated, or less cultured. This is true in the case of African blacks and European whites. This is true in the case of so-called Aryan Germans and Jews. This is also true in the case of Muslim regions where there are, frictions between Sunni and Sufi communities. And this is also true in the case of India's notorious caste hierarchy. Similarly, recent studies show that gender has also been a very effective factor by which not only women across the world, but also the people of LGBTQ community are stereotyped, stigmatized, and seen something as lower, mean, or worthy to be subjugated. This marginality has been a focus of attention for several centuries amongst the intellectuals, social reformers, humanists, activists, saints, and poets, ranging from medieval saints to social thinkers like Rousseau, Marx, or Ambedkar in India of the modern age. All have extensively talked about the root causes of this imposed marginality and its severe consequences upon targeted group of people. Some of the most perceivable symptoms of this marginality uh, are social exclusions, segregation, lack of opportunities, favoritism, and racial and cultural otherness, etc. Friends, literature in this sense, in this regard, literature with an exception of that of the privileged ones, has always shown much concern about the aforementioned factors and consequences of marginality. It has given due space to the exploration of the causes and consequences of marginality by citing in its pages the exemplary stories of marginal people. There is no dearth of the works in marginal communities across the world which deal with the most urgent issues related with their imposed marginality. The voices of resistance are coming out from everywhere, but are they being heard? This is also the moot point that should be brought into intellectual discussion. Apart from this, if one takes an impartial look at even the oeuvre of titans like Shakespeare, one finds that the issue of marginality is outrightly absent in his works, and he is not the sole case in this regard. This is the reason that I would say that this is the reason, in my view, the works of Charles Dickens become more relevant in this sense than the works of Shakespeare. And this is true in the literature of almost every language. Languages and cultures differ, but not the temperament of the privileged ones of not dealing with or completely excluding the marginal issues. And thus, we can say that the very marginality which is the product of the hierarchical system of the privileged ones is thus marginalized by denying the much needed space to it. On the other hand, even though the marginal voices register their resistance, and come before the world. Despite all the hurdles, it seems they are similarly left to die on the sands of negligence. The works of privileged communities, howsoever trivial matters they deal with, are shouldered up by the lobbies of mainstream elites, whereas the works of marginal communities dealing with issues of their subalternity are deliberately denied platforms, scholarly discussions, and wide circulations. And thus, not only the attempts of freeing themselves of the marginalized ones are thwarted and frustrated by the prevailed system, but their voices and narratives which they want to bring before the world are also smothered by confining their area of reach. This conspiracy may not get the agreement of most of the intellectuals. Some may say, 1 minute. Yeah. Okay. Some may say that it is just a matter of interest and not that of the marginality of literature. But it cannot be denied that there is a grain of truth in what has grain of truth in what has been said by me just now. There are lobbies of the whites in America and her castes in India which are very active in lifting up the works of their dear ones, their kith and kins, and divesting the works of marginalized ones of due circulation by spreading stereotypes and unjust reviews about them. This, in my view, is a marginality of literature, and hence is the title Marginalized Literature. Now, having said this, I should also note down here that the marginalized people in their marginalized literature have always very diligently, tried to eradicate the social stigma, stereotypes, and wrong social notions about them. For this purpose, literature has proven to be a very effective instrument in their hands. Reformers and activists like the great Fule, Martin Luther in West, and Malcolm X, etc., have used it with a phenomenal effect. This attempt by the men and women of marginal communities have played a great part in ameliorating, in improving, and in painting a new image of them and their people. In this sense, they have contributed in redefining history. The aim of this conference, uh, you know, is this: to bring together all those intellectual minds who like to think over this kind of marginality and discuss how this marginalized literature has played a big part in redefining history. I hope I have made clear the background, the aim and objective of this conference in my short introductory speech.